Hello everybody. Well, I've moved my chair back over to the window now. So yeah, so I'm continuing my Beatles discography review, and this time I'm reviewing Rubber Soul. So Rubber Soul is the sixth studio album by the Beatles, and it was released on the 3rd of December 1965. And fun fact, it was released on the same day as the double A-side single Day Tripper and We Can Work It Out, which they were not included on this album, but they were released on the same day. It was also released on the same day as the Rolling Stones' December's Children. So the Beatles and the Stones released an album on the exact same day. How cool is that? I just can't really begin to imagine what it must have been like to have been around in 1965. So yeah, Rubber Soul, and a lot of Beatles fans, and me included, consider this the beginning of this is their creative peak. When they started to get a bit experimental. So this is when they started to become more of a studio band. And this is kind of the beginning of the album era, because of course you had albums before this, but before this point, a lot of people didn't really look at albums as one standalone piece of work. Like they were just considered collections of individual songs by an artist. But I think it was Bob Dylan's Highway 61 Revisited album, which came out the same year as this. I think that marked the beginning of the album era. So people started to look at albums as one piece of work, as a whole. But even the early Beatles albums, I still look at them as a whole rather than look at them as just collections of individual songs. I do look at them as like whole albums. I think all studio albums should be taken as a whole. But anyway, let's get to the track listing. So it starts off with Drive My Car, and this is just a classic song. It opens with that iconic guitar riff. Paul, and I absolutely love Paul's vocals, and it's pretty funny lyrics, but brilliant nonetheless. I think I love this song, and I especially love the bit just before the guitar solo. He says the beep beep beep. Yeah, I love this song. It's one of my favourites on the album. Track 2 is Norwegian Wood, and this is a brilliant song. And this includes the first use of a sitar in mainstream music. It's not an Indian song. It's a slow acoustic ballad. It's a John song. John Lennon sings vocals on this one. And yeah, the lyrics are really good. It's apparently about an affair that he had. But yeah, George plays a sitar on this track. Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. Track 3 is another McCartney song, You Won't See Me. And this is a beautiful song. And the lyrics in the song are, I think it's supposed to be about Paul's then girlfriend, Jane Asher. It was about they were having problems with their relationship at this point. She didn't want to communicate with him. He was trying to get through to her to communicate with her, but she just... Yeah. And there's a couple of songs on this album where Paul sings about Jane Asher, and also the song And I Love Her from A Hard Day's Night. That was also about Jane Asher as well, when they had just I think it's when they just got together for the first time. But yeah, it's a nice song, and I love the backing vocals by John and George. The la-las in the background, just brilliant. And the piano I just love the piano. Track 4 is another classic Beatles song, Nowhere Man. And yeah, and this John in this song, John is basically, he's describing himself, because 1965, he actually ranked 1965 as a bad year for himself. Like he was feeling insecure, and he wrote this song about himself, and it's just wonderful how he could turn his sadness into a work of art. Yeah, and this song also reminds me of Yellow Submarine, the animated film Yellow Submarine, where this song appears. But yeah, great song. The guitar in it is brilliant. The backing vocals, the harmonies. It's got everything you'd want from a Beatles song. Track 5 is Think for Yourself. This is a George Harrison song, and it's one of my favourite George songs. And this is the first time the Beatles used a fuzz bass. Paul McCartney uses a distortion tone on his bass. It's not the first time that it had happened in music. Like I think the Kinks used a distortion tone on "You Really Got Me." The Rolling Stones used it on "I Can't Get No Satisfaction." But this is the first time the Beatles used it. And yeah, fantastic song. The lyrics are fantastic. And the next, track 6, is The Word. This is another John Lennon song. And yeah, I love this song. I love the piano. I love the lyrics, the harmonies. It's kind of like similar. It's kind of like the early part of Summer of Love. This predates the Summer of Love, which was in 1967. But yeah, I love the lyrics. It's so fine, sunshine. It's just a great song. I love the harmonium solo that's on here as well. I think it's George Martin who plays the harmonium. But yeah, great song. Track 7 is the beautiful acoustic ballad Michelle by Paul McCartney. And yeah, this is just a great song. It's just beautiful. The lyrics are beautiful, and he uses some like French phrases in the lyrics. I'm not sure if the song is about if he actually knew somebody called Michelle. But yeah, it's a really nice song, and yeah, I've always loved this track, and it's a classic without a doubt. Track 8 is What Goes On. This is the Ringo song. It's written by John and Paul, but it's sung by Ringo. And yeah, this is a great song. It's one of those songs that a lot of Beatles fans like to put down, but I think it's a great song. It's a good little rockabilly song. It's got great lyrics as well. Like, it's a genius lyric. What goes on in your heart? What goes on in your mind? You are tearing me apart when you treat me so unkind. That's brilliant lyrics. It's a genius. And track 9 is another classic, Girl, by John Lennon, of course. And yeah, this is a great song. And I love the sound effect that he does with his mouth, like when he's saying "girl," and then he's sort of like breathing through his teeth. Yeah, and I think the lyrics. I think this was about his marriage with Cynthia, I believe. That's what I've heard, but there are lots of different sources out there. I don't know which source is the most reliable on the internet. But yeah, fantastic song. And track 10 is I'm Looking Through You. This is another Paul song, and this is another song about Jane Asher. And this is where he's expressing his disappointment that she's refusing to give up her acting career for his needs. So yeah, but it's a great song though. I love the guitar, Paul's vocals. It's not really much more I can say. It's just another great song. I mean, on this album, it's just one great song after another. And then track 11 is the classic, probably arguably the best song on this, not just on this album, but of the Beatles' whole career, "In My Life," with John Lennon. And this is a beautiful song, and obviously it's about John. It's basically a nostalgia song for him, where he's like thinking about friends that he had in the past, places that he'd been to in the past, and he's basically reminiscing about that. It's a song that I can definitely relate to it, because there's been places I've been to that I love. I've had friends. Well, a lot of my friends I had before I'm still friends with. But yeah, this is a relatable song, and I absolutely love it, and I absolutely love the beautiful piano solo by George Martin. The lyrics are just this is a flawless song. It's a masterpiece. Track 12 is "Wait." This is another John song. Well, the vocals are kind of shared with John Lennon and Paul McCartney. And this song was actually recorded during the Help session. So it was recorded for Help, but it was saved for this album. But yeah, it's a great song. A nice catchy tune. And track 13 is another one of my favourites on this album, "If I Needed Someone." So this is another George Harrison song. And on this one he uses his 12-string Rickenbacker guitar. And yeah, I love the lyrics, I love the harmonies on here. Yeah, this is one of my favourite George songs. And then the final track on the album is the controversial "Run for Your Life." So this is a John song. Now, I like this song musically. It's a great song. It's a good upbeat. It's a nice upbeat rocker. I mean, yeah, the lyrics are a bit dodgy. It's about a jealous lover who would basically rather see he'd rather see his girlfriend dead than to have her being with another man. So yeah, it's very dark lyrics and not the nicest lyrics. But I know John Lennon has said, he did say after this, that he wasn't proud of this song. But I still like the song though. And musically, it's a great song musically. But I do agree that the lyrics are not very nice at all. But that doesn't stop me from giving this album. I'm giving this album a 10 out of 10. It is a perfect album, and the Beatles really started getting creative at this point. And yeah, they were smoking pot in the studio when they recorded this. So this is like jokingly referred to as the pot album, because when they met Bob Dylan in 1964, he introduced them to pot, because Bob Dylan was a pot smoker as well. But yeah, I absolutely love this album. It's one of my favourite Beatles albums, although it's just outside my top 5. But yeah, I absolutely love this album, and I remember having this on cassette. I still have a copy of it on. I have a copy of it on cassette, but it's not the same one that I had originally. Yeah, I first heard this album on a cassette tape. But yeah, love Rubber Soul, and it's a classic album. It's an album that it's one of those must owns, So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that review. My next review will be on Revolver. Take care.